So welcome to the Entrepreneurial Thinking podcast, sponsored by Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. This is the number one podcast on entrepreneurial thinking through finance, media, and education. And I have two very amazing guests that are going to share some important insights on our topic today, which is actually the quest for an entrepreneurial Nigerian government. Before I continue, I absolutely have to tell you about an event that you can't miss. It's a 3-day event that's going to be happening on the 1st to the 3rd of September 2022. It's the Tongston Entrepreneurial Education Summit. This is the largest global gathering of stakeholders in business, in finance, in media, in strategy, technology, you name it, you absolutely must be there. Registrations begin on the 20th of June. So, and then, you can register. You can write to us at tees@tongston.com, which is tees@tongston.com, or call us on +234 816 590 2923. So I have with me two very important guests who are, in fact, I can't even think of anybody better qualified to talk about an entrepreneurial Nigerian government. I have Mr. Bello Tongo, who is actually the CEO of Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings, and Mr. Olayiwola Abdulkareem. And I'm going to allow them introduce themselves. I'm Aliu Fatima from Tongston Entrepreneurship Media. So, why don't you, talk to our guests?
All right. Thank you very much. It's a very big honor to be here today. My name is Olayiwola Abdulkareem Ahmed, and I'm the CEO, founder of Ivy Crystal Media, a company that is focused on education and entrepreneurship, because you cannot be associated with Tongston Holdings.
I'm not talking about that.
So basically, it's an honor to be here today, and I feel like we are going to really have a very wonderful time together discussing this cogent topic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Allah.
I agree. And I guess, as Fatima said, my name is Engineer Bello Tongo, founder and CEO of Tongston Entrepreneurship Holdings. You all know about Tongston already, so we are hosting this event, and I'm here to support this. So,
Yes, thank you so much. What our viewers don't know is that Mr. Bello actually has over 14 years experience in construction, business, entrepreneurship. Can you just talk a little bit about how you're able to do all that?
I didn't want to.
He's going with the humility angle.
Yeah, he is.
Now we want you to spill the beans.
Yeah, so my background has been in construction and civil engineering, and I've also set up businesses in transport, real estate, and entertainment in the past. Public-private sector experience, now Tongston. And also I've taught in schools, I've done consulting for schools, trained teachers, etc. So I'm sort of like an engineer turned educator.
Oh, engineer. But it would be interesting.
I think we forgot to mention
or maybe
something.
I should say an engineer turned educator and entrepreneur. So 3 E's.
I think he's still missing something. Okay. He's a mentor too.
Yes.
To some of us in this business.
But you know what? As part of being an educator, I think mentorship is a natural thing. You can't be a good educator without being a good mentor.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I didn't feel the need to say that separately.
Right. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
So also, Mr. Olayiwola Ahmed, this is I know we're good friends, but I don't want to bring that into it. But he is the CEO of Ivy Crystal Media. I know you talked about the fact that you're into education and entrepreneurship as well, and I know that you have a big event coming up, which I'm not going to spoil, but maybe I'll just let you do the talking.
Well, you see, the truth of the matter is that at the beginning of everything, for all of us on this table, education is actually very core. And for me too, I started as an educationist, full-fledged educationist. I grew from the scratch of teaching at the primary level, moved to secondary school, headed a few schools here and there. So the education is like the topmost or the ground floor layer of everything that we're going to discuss here today. And it's just a privilege to be here. It's a privilege because at the end of the day, I usually say this all the time, and I'm very sure the CEO would bear me witness. As soon as learning is off the table, I'm gone. So Mr. Olayiwola is only here today to learn more. While we discuss, I'm learning. Yes. So
Ola, I always say that I always appreciate your humility.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. By the way, we all have been teachers.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we should save an episode for
exactly. I think we should do that.
She didn't do justice as far as her own background is concerned.
Exactly.
You also run a media company and you're taught and you still teach.
So that they will know your pedigree as an educationist and as an entrepreneur. The triple E that we mentioned earlier.
The triple E, yes.
It's very, very important.
Yes, it's very important. I think in the economy we find ourselves, it can't be I want to say young person, but you can't be a young person and not have, multiple things that you dabble in. Yes, I've been an educator. I have, I find myself hosting a show. Yes, I have been an animator. So, I think that is a story with a lot of people where they have to do so many things at the same time. And that is a good segue into the topic that we actually have for today. The quest for an entrepreneurial Nigerian government. This is a critical time to talk about this, especially because today is June 12th and we're celebrating the International Day for Democracy. It was moved to June 12th, right?
Yes. Democracy Day has been moved to June 12th.
Yes, so happy Democracy Day. But it's interesting because Nigeria finds herself in such a big political, economic dilemma, with the huge debt that we have. I actually read that Nigeria is ranked 5th among 10 countries with highest debt. So my question is, right, what would this entrepreneurial government look like if we ever had an entrepreneurial government? I mean, you've been following the primaries so far. Is there a candidate that we're looking at and we're like, yes, this is the candidate that's going to give us entrepreneurial government that we need so that everybody can be CEOs of their company?
That is a serious one.
Yeah.
That's a serious one. But I'll let the CEO start with that first.
Okay.
Yes. Just yesterday, one of the political parties, I won't mention their name so I don't give them free publicity,
exactly.
but their presidential candidate said, I think one of the media companies, they asked him, what makes you different? Mm-hmm. And he said, what makes him different is that he is what none of the other candidates are. Mm-hmm. And he describes himself as the future CEO of Nigeria.
Wow.
Yeah. So he is looking at Nigeria as an enterprise, as a business, and he being the commander-in-chief potentially, he is going to be the CEO of that company. And reason why I'm saying this is because this is kind of the idea of an entrepreneurial government. You, the CEO or the commander-in-chief, the president, you have to be entrepreneurial.
Exactly.
Your cabinet or your team basically has to be entrepreneurial, but also the government. You have to look at the government and the country itself as an enterprise, which really, if you think about it, that's what it is.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yes, and for you to do that, of course, it depends on also how you apply whatever you define as entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial or entrepreneurialism, So for Tongston, as you know, is about brand, product, and the business itself. So you have to look at Nigeria as a brand, Nigeria also as a product, and also Nigeria as a business. So a combination of all three. I think that's what it means to have Nigeria or any other government as an entrepreneurial government. But mind you, I think all states also have
that's exactly where I want to mention the fact that it's not enough for the president to be entrepreneurial and then the states are not in tandem with that. The local governments are not in tandem with that. Let's even forget all these government parastatals. The individual, every Nigerian must also key into the entrepreneurial mindset. So the larger picture is, let's start from somewhere. Let's have a conducive environment for this entrepreneurial thinking to sink in for Nigerians. Already we have youths in Nigeria that are ready to make money. So they are doing a lot, if not too much, as it is right now, to make the money. Now, how do we allow them to key into a system where it will now become a national thing, where it will now become a state thing, where it will now become a local government thing? That is exactly, because if the president sees himself as the CEO and the state governor sees himself as a, what do you call those people that leech on something, that are only interested in eating, and then consumers, then there will be a problem, because it will not be a total package, as the case may be. Yes.
So, I mean, while we're sitting here pointing fingers at the government, saying that they are not entrepreneurial, I'm thinking, what do we actually expect the government to do? I mean, I want practical steps, because, we see them time and time again. They are giving funds to startups to begin, you see there's so funds for people in agriculture. We see that all the time. Is it that that's not enough, or we're now saying, hey, in addition to the government, I mean, every level of the government, from the president to every senator, every governor, every, ministers and all that, in addition to that, we're now saying even private individuals, you too have to be an entrepreneur, and you have to be working with the government.
It's me to be radical here. And this is the radicalism I'm talking about. I think when you do something, we should ask your purpose. All these things that you mentioned, what was the purpose of the government doing that? You will notice that it wasn't for any entrepreneurial purpose. It's probably, they are agitating, they are talking. Let's shut them up. Let's give them something. So as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing on ground. That's why I said I will be radical a bit. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing on ground, because most of the things that are in play right now were not done for the right reasons or the right purposes. So let me give you an instance. And I thought of this while I was on my way to this place today. So why is it that in Nigeria, the president of Nigeria just agreed that a certain age group are not too young to run? But all the political parties have no one from that particular age range running. So here is my conclusion to that. The youths are talking. They are disturbing us on the social media. Let's give them something. So they signed that thing into the bill. But is there any conducive environment for the youths to actually come out and run? I doubt it. So the purpose for doing that has been fulfilled for them. But was the purpose for the real people that it was done? So those are the questions we need to ask ourselves before we jump into saying whether we are really ready. So the truth of the matter is, as far as I'm concerned, from a radical point of view, I don't think we have anything entrepreneurial in our government, in our system right now.
Wow. Yes. So no dream entrepreneurial government 2023.
Yeah, let me add to what he said, what Mr. Ola said. Just think of, you both have your own businesses, and I'm sure our audience also, people work for businesses, but also have their own ideas of starting businesses. Think about the process that you go through. We've always heard about this whole Nigeria. There's no Nigerian dream. There's no ideology in our politics. I think that is one of the first places that whoever it is, if this needs to be done, as you talked about, practical of how really we can get it, that dream of Nigeria needs to be established. So that is for the political space. What it means is that this is basically just like how when you're setting up a company, you set a vision.
The vision and the mission.
And mission.
The purpose.
Purpose. So that same thing that he talked about. Purpose. What really are we trying to achieve? And it needs to be something that will resonate with every single body in this country, every tribe, every religion, every geographical location,
zones and all
everything. People need to really resonate with it so that it inspires them to really do and push beyond that. Even after the president, finishes his 4 or 8 years and goes, people are still holding on to that dream. But some people have tried to do that. In 2015, there was like a change mantra. That was like the ideology. But when it came, we needed to see action.
Something changed the change along the way.
Exactly. So it's not enough to, you see. And even you see companies also the same thing. It's not enough for you to say your mission statement and vision and all that. You have to also live it. So if the people have bought into the idea, but they don't see you practicalizing it, they just abandon it. And we missed that opportunity, I think, in 2015. It would have been better. But here we are. Hopefully, next
here
time.
we are. Yes. Okay. So, if you permit me to read from my notes, because this is something that every Nigerian will testify that they are suffering from, inflation, if I can call it a disease. Yeah. So, it says Nigeria's inflation rose to 16.8% in April 2022. Right. So I'm quoting tradingeconomics.com, and it says on the price front, both input inflation and output inflation surged to a record level high as Russia invades Ukraine and exacerbates the cost for a wide range of raw materials, including petroleum. So, and then the CBN government has also stated a goal that, according to their RT 200 program, to raise $200 billion actually in foreign exchange. So, we see that the government, I know we talk about that, there could be, there's all statements, all propaganda. I mean, what is the actual steps they are taking? But we see them at least releasing this fund. So my question is, how will private sectors, how do we properly step in? We saw private sectors step in when we had the problem of power. They didn't solve it entirely, right? But at least they got somewhere. Now there's the Dangote refinery. So in other sectors of the economies besides oil, is there something that we can be doing that will actually, improve the efforts that the government is actually putting in to actually, make this sector something, should I say profitable, if Nigeria were, a brand, as we say?
Yes, let me go first. Sorry, I have to tie this back to some of the political things I've been seeing in the past few days. Somebody in one of the political parties said, I think it's the same person, in fact, that talked about him being CEO, which is kind of contradictory to this video, which I'm going to say. He submitted that, and you have heard this before, that government doesn't have business in business, something like that, or it's not government's responsibility to go into business. They should just enable the environment for private sector to run the businesses. But for you to do that, you also have to understand business, right? For you as the government or as president, you have to understand business also. So the thing with inflation, you have to, I look at it, from my perspective, I look at it in two ways. First, in terms of currency, and number two, in terms of commodities and productivity. If there's how will I put it? If there's more currency or more naira in the market compared to the other foreign exchange which we demand for, which is the dollar, it creates an inflation, right? Because there will be demand for dollar, and if there's demand for dollar, the value that you put in naira, or the request or requirement for people needing naira will reduce, and so that will affect the market. That will affect the naira value compared to the dollar. That is one. But then you have to look at commodities also, as I said. If there's less commodities, like if you look at rice, for instance, if there's less of it in the market, then it's going to create a high demand for it, and that will affect inflation. So the way I look at it, currency-wise and commodities, there needs to be a balance between the two. So whether it's the government or private sector, they need to kind of collaborate to bring it up at the same level, at the same rate, not one higher than the other. That is one. But number two, is tying to what you said, that private sector needs to also come in, right? It's either the government becomes entrepreneurial to run industries like NNPC or the electricity company or the telcos and refineries and all of that, or they allow and enable private sector to run it, And if private sector is going to really run it genuinely, they need to do it. They need to keep to their word, because that's not what we see right now, especially with the electricity, with the electricity industry, Yes. If you really want government to concession an entity to you, you need to be ready to do the work. Even the education that we talk about. In the US, there's something called charter schools. So they are government schools, but government hands it to private individuals and organizations and NGOs to run it. But they do their own part. They enable you, the environment, to run it, but you have to do your own part also.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. Yes. That the most important thing, actually, it's not about the private entity not coming in. We have a lot of private entity in this country as we speak right now. But the truth of the matter is, do we have that enabling environment for them to thrive? Yeah. Do we have those policies on ground, entrepreneurial policies now on ground, that would ensure that if I'm going to put my neck out here, I'm not going to lose my neck in the process? Yeah. Because I would not want to see something that is about to kill me. And I know this is because you do this thing before you move into any business. You do something they call risk evaluation. The risk is higher in this country. So if the government wants the entrepreneur to private entities to step in, I think the first thing is to ensure that there is an enabling environment, and the environment should be conducive enough for even should give room for competition. Because one thing about this whole thing is, as soon as there is monopoly of something, it becomes something that is difficult to control. Then inflation will surely come in because it's being controlled by one individual, and whatever it feels like doing, as long as it's going to generate more fund, they will do that. So here is the thing: and allow competition, healthy competition. That happened in the telecommunication department. You can see bonus airtime, bonus this, bonus that, get this and get one for free. Everybody is trying to upscale in terms of how to get people to join them. So basically, if there's an enabling environment, 1, 2, if there is room for healthy competition, and finally, I disagree totally with government saying they are not business, so they don't want to interfere in business. Government should be business. It's a serious business on its own. So I agree with the person that say he wants to be the CEO, but as soon as he is going to be the CEO, please let him also be interested in the business.
Yes.
Because you cannot say you are going to be a CEO and you are not going to be interested in the business of the... no, it won't work that way.
That's why I said, actually, you need to be ready to also do your own part, you know. And just to conclude on this point, government needs to see the benefit of this. Like even for us, for Tongston, in one of the states where we are in Gombe, we're trying to almost sort of present to the government that us being there, we are being an enabler to whatever agenda, developmental agenda that they have. And also by being there, we are enabling private sector to grow. If private sector grows through entrepreneurship and businesses, for you.
Exactly. So it's a win-win. Yes. The question is, what do you stand to gain from this kind of thing? Yes. The government will want to ask, what do we stand to gain from allowing this and from creating this enabling environment, from allowing the private entity to jump in? Yes. What you stand to gain is higher tax. But the question now is, which is another issue. The question now is, if they are going to enjoy this, who is going to ensure that they enjoy it? Because there's a thing about government parastatal where doing the due diligence or putting your way out there to do the right thing, some of them will say, well, I can't stress myself, just paying any. And you see, entrepreneurial thinking person would look at all this loophole and capitalize on it. So if the government is ready to do all that, they should also be ready to do the work to follow up on the taxes. Exactly. That's where Lagos State excels. Yes. Lagos State excels in the angle of following up on the taxes, doing the due diligence. At the toll gate, for example, as small as toll gate income is, they're raking a lot of money there because they are ready to do the due diligence and follow up. So if we are going to do that, of which I advise the government to do that. So if we are going to do that, we should put a lot of things on ground to checkmate even the entrepreneur and the business people and this and that. I want to also add that because some people, this is not us saying government go and burden people with tax. The tax matter is just one part of it. Exactly. But think about it. Human capital of that state becomes better. Yes. Every industry becomes better quality-wise. Yes. Government wouldn't be too burdened with employment because they would have covered unemployment issues. Yes, all the private entities are going to be the ones to absorb these youths that are looking for jobs, you know. And then when you come for CSR also,
there's partnership that exists between the private sector and the public sector. All the expertise mainly exists within the private sector. For public sector, it's usually policies and things like that. So we, the private sector, end up making the public sector even better and more informed economically, you know. Yes. So there are so many benefits of really, not just, as Mr. Ola said, enabling that environment of entrepreneurial thinking, but also you understanding it and embracing it fully as a government.
And then following up, like he says.
Yes, but both sides need to be trustworthy and keep their integrity
for the
to do the work. Yes, you know, long term, not short term gains. That, because some of them think, you know, I need to see this in my 4 years of administration or 8 years or whatever. They need to see it long term, which is the example that I gave. Lagos, over 25 years.
Over 25 years, yes.
Long term vision and goals, you know.
Yeah. That raises a very important question. Why can't every state be like Lagos? Say every state in Nigeria.
Okay, so let me be an educationist here now. You see, in the Department of Education, we discussed this thing called individual differences and all that. And you can see these are fingers. They are not equal. So we'll be asking too much of some states if you ask them to be like Lagos. Lagos is a place where everybody wants to go to. You know, it's overpopulated as we speak already. So they have a certain factor that has been working for them historically. But it's not every state that can attract that kind of influx. But whatever it is that you can attract, whatever it is that you have on ground, you can make good of those things. I don't think there's any state in Nigeria that doesn't have natural resources. I don't think there's any state in Nigeria that doesn't have human capital. I don't think there's any state in Nigeria that doesn't have something that is generating income. I don't think we have a state that doesn't even have inland revenues and all those things. So the question now is, how are you able to maximize that which you have? Lagos doesn't really have much water. So hence the reason why they have to be, you know, savvy in that department. So I wouldn't say that every state should be like Lagos. I would say every state should be unique. Like Lagos found their own uniqueness. Yes, every state should try and be unique. I think it will go a long way that way.
Yeah, maybe if I can quickly add on that. There is a state that is almost becoming that way, but they have their own challenges. Kaduna State. Yes. That's a typical also entrepreneurial type of government also. And you need to, you know, as we talk about our own thinking, entrepreneurial thinking model, you have to think of the value that you have. As Lagos State, they know what their value is, you know. And every state, as Mr. Ola said, every state have something that human beings will value. In fact, even you just being the leader and being an entrepreneurial leader, enabling this environment of enterprise and entrepreneurial thinking is also a valuable thing. Because if you are that way, you attract people that really want to set up their industries. It's the reason why many people are moving to the UK and other places, because that's an environment that is, especially the US, is an environment that is really willing to take people that are enterprising and really want to build up companies and things like that, almost like a capitalist type of, you know. So it's the same thing that you will see people that are moving into Abuja, flocking to Abuja and moving to Lagos also. It's because that's an environment that there's more hope of really making something of yourself, you know. You because the value there is that, okay, it's better infrastructure, better light, you know, electricity,
and all these are good
security.
For
exactly.
If I'm sure that I will have a certain amount of power,
exactly,
then I'm safe.
Yes.
But you know one thing, and this is very funny. Most of the rural areas in Nigeria have good power supply.
Yeah, it is.
If you've been to some of this rural area, I'm not sure if I'm being 100% correct with this fact, but the rural areas I've been to, they have good source of electricity. But the truth of the matter is that enabling environment for businesses like real-time business to survive there is minimal. The customer for that business doesn't exist in those places. So where there is hope, there is struggle. Where there is no hope, there is no struggle. So you are just torn. Yeah. You are torn in a way. So I will allow you finish what you're saying. Sorry.
No, I agree with what you're saying, which is why we said the enabling environment, and that even includes things like security and the tax system, electricity, the housing market there, infrastructure, roads, and things like that. Those are all the things that the entrepreneurial governor or president needs to think about in order to attract. They keep saying attract foreign investment.
How would I bring my money into generator? Yes. I'll buy fuel.
Exactly.
Let me even give you a small gist. My estate. Yes. We cannot run our day-to-day activity anymore because the power level has really the distribution level has really gone down. So we needed power to do a lot of things, but we can't do them anymore. Now here is the problem. Let's buy generator. We have a generator, the diesel generator, but to fund the fueling.
Back to inflation.
So the truth of the matter is it's going to be difficult for anybody to live a more conducive environment where they will not go through all this and then say, I'm coming to Nigeria to come and buy fuel and that's basically what, like you said, the entrepreneurial government needs to take into consideration. There are so many things that need to be on ground. There must be a guarantee. Security, for example, you don't see anybody saying, I want to come and set up anything in all this our terrorized zone in Nigeria. And everywhere is becoming terrorized right now. You see what happened in Ondo State a few days ago. Personally, if I want to go and start a business in Ondo State, I have to start thinking now, like, okay, or what should I do there if I get there? How should I? So I have to work on the security myself because I know there is nothing on ground. All this is putting undue pressure on a typical entrepreneur. So the truth of the matter still remains that the homework that we have given this government since 1960, they still need to do their homework, which is provide all these things that we mentioned earlier on: security, power, water, whatever it is that would be important for any entrepreneur to thrive, must be on ground. Then you can also, we are inviting. You see Nigerians in diaspora, they will not think of coming home and start any business when they know that the tendencies of being kidnapped, for example, is there, is ripe. Youths cannot walk freely now on the street. They told us you leave your house and you have to come back by 7:30. So even if you have an appointment with somebody that will get you something really tangible by 8, you think about it twice. Is it worth my life? Yeah. Is it worth me being kidnapped? Is it, traveling by the road? You travel by train now again. It's another thing. So there's so many gray areas. I'm telling you, so many that we need to work on. And when we can get all that done, trust me, it will be easier for any president or any governor to be entrepreneurial in mindset and even in actions.
Yes, I think also, sorry again, I know we keep going back and forth on this point, but one of the biggest tasks for whoever is coming in as a president right now for Nigeria is unity of the country.
Yes.
Try all the multiple tribes, languages, geolocations, religions, and all that. Yes. Reason why I'm saying that is because think about it in the entrepreneurial way or in the enterprise side of things. If you set up your own company, imagine we call it Fatima Limited. If part of this part of this enabling environment for Fatima Limited, you can link Fatima Limited to Nigeria, is that this team, the staff that you hire within Fatima Limited, there is safety, basically. This person is not quarreling with this one is not quarreling with this one, and this one,
united.
You need collaboration to achieve your vision as the president or as the head of Fatima Limited. So part of creating an enabling environment is making sure that you create a collaborative environment so that there is no tension or anything amongst your team. And your team are not just your main departmental heads or ministers, but it's also the human beings that exist within that entity, whether the entity is Nigeria or Fatima Limited. So it's something that the next president, for him to be entrepreneurial, he must create a collaborative environment so that teamwork happens for that same vision that you set for them, you know. So, but as I said, the vision also needs to be something that they believe in and they wish for,
and it's
and you also need to do your part, as I said, to live that vision so that they don't, it doesn't look like you're just exploiting them.
Idealistic point of view. Yes, it's very ideal in a way. But let's look at the antecedents. Even when you have the intention of uniting the nation, and this had been the slogan of some TV stations, uplifting the people and uniting the nation. I love that thing. But the truth of the matter is, all these things we are saying, they've been there. Idealistically, even most of the government people in government presently, they knew the importance of unity. But how do we now work towards it and making it happen? There's so many elements. There's so many elements within our system that would not allow this unity to happen. So if the government will hit the ground running, we need to identify these elements. Now, after identifying the elements, take them heads on. If we have to fight them, let's fight. Because there's a thing they say that sometimes you need to fight war to get peace. You understand? If you have to fight this element, let's fight them. But, corruption that we say is our problem wasn't really the problem. Because if it is fighting corruption, I will give this government, they really tried. At the very beginning, they really tried to fight corruption. But the truth of the matter is, there is no nation that is not corrupt. It is the nation that decides to touchlight its own corruption to the world. Then that's on you. But the truth of the matter is, if we can fix some things, corruption would also be a thing of the past. Because everybody that is corrupt will now realize that, I'm doing it at the detriment of the greater good of my people. So the unity angle must be taken care of before even saying I want to tackle corruption. That's what I'm trying to pick from what, So if we are united, you will know that if I take this from my people, I'm going to affect a larger populace. So you won't do that for the sake of unity.
Okay, but I want to play devil's advocate for a second, right? Like you said, this is all idealistic. But I'm thinking, like, who needs to hear this information, right? The government, from what we're talking about, because this is action steps that they need to take. But do people care about unity? If people cared so much about having good governance, that care about unity, so we're going in circles, but if people cared about that, why don't we put the kind of government that we want to see? Why are all these problems? Because these are not problems.
You are really poking.
Yes,
you are really poking.
I am. Because I think about it, these problems are problems that we must have been facing from 1960. They don't look like new problems. Yes. So
I think what you are saying, still, your position is still idealistic, like I would say, because the reality of the matter is Nigeria has more than 560 something languages. And everybody, no matter how united we want to be, everybody would have this identity of I am this thing, this language, I am this, I am that. Now, can we get past that and have the mindset of I am Nigerian first? Can we get past, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm Hindu, this, I'm that. Can we get past that first and see ourselves as I'm Nigerian? Now, if we can get past that, which is not the problem of the government. Government, any politician would only see this dichotomy and buy into it to win election. But if that thing is no longer there, there's nothing to capitalize on anymore. You have to come as a government to really tell us you are a Nigerian and you want the best for Nigeria. But you can see some campaign, this thing, I'm sorry, there is a person that is not a northerner and started speaking Hausa to campaign. I don't want to mention names and all. But you see, what's the purpose of that? Banking on the linguistic interest of the people to gain their sympathy. That is not what we want. We want a situation where you will come and talk and say, I'm a Nigerian and I'm going to do this for Nigeria, regardless of the location, regardless of the language, regardless of the religious affiliation, regardless of... If we can get that ideal setting where everything will be Nigeria first. You see, all these developed countries, it's the country first, though.
Yes, exactly.
So let's say America, for example. If you watch their movies, they sell it in their movies. If you speak to any one of them, it's America first. You can be a Muslim, you can be a whatever, but America first. Then after that, we can now discuss whatever dichotomy you have, which will not really play a bigger role in the political and the entrepreneurial system.
It shouldn't be more important.
It shouldn't be more important than the Nigerian dream.
But you see the gap there now. In terms of her original question from the beginning, in terms of where do we start? This is why I said that what it means to be a Nigerian also has to be defined.
Yes,
but it has to be a definition that everybody agrees
buy
with.
into.
Yes,
exactly.
Not that this one will say, no,
my own Nigerian
my own is different.
Because
because we're very much tied to our cultural beliefs and also our religious beliefs.
Yeah.
So many people in Nigeria, their religious belief comes first before the country's ideology or identity first. So Nigerian identity has to be defined and agreed by everybody, or at least the majority.
Exactly, because from the way I see it, the American identity is sort of incentivized. So if you are American, there's the status quo. Like
yes. There's a thing I used to hear on there. They say all American. Even in sports, they will say he's an all-America. And I'll be like, what's the meaning of being an all-American? Everything is incentivized somehow.
But what would be the incentive? Like, I guess that's what he was saying with Nigerian identity. Like, what would be the incentive of saying I am Nigerian? And also, I think where my question was centered around is because the topic is the Entrepreneurial Nigerian government. So we're holding the government accountable. I mean, who hasn't done that before? But the people, what is our responsibility? I don't believe the whole problem, especially with unity.
I've actually mentioned that now. That is actually not the government's problem now. It's we, the Nigerians, not identifying the Nigerian brand. You see, the only time we unite the most is when we are playing football. And Musa and Moses, their friend, on the pitch. When they score, outside, Musa and Moses will still hug each other. Yay, Nigeria! Yay, Nigeria! If we can translate that into our day-to-day Nigerian brand, into our day-to-day Nigerian mindset, trust me, nothing can shake the entity called Nigeria. Because already we have it somewhere. We just don't know how to tap it into the major. It's in sports.
Yes.
It's in sports, fully in sports. Chidebere will go. Nobody cares whether Chidebere is Igbo or Imo or whatever. We'll say, Nigerian girl. Hey, she will finish them today. She will show them Pepe. Okocha. Nobody cares. He's a Nigerian. He's an idol. We represent him anywhere we are. If you find yourself in America and they are discussing about football and they say, do you know JJ Okocha? I say, my boy. You don't even have any relationship with him. You don't even know, but you own him. So if we can own Nigeria like that, if we can connect with Nigeria, and it's an individual thing now. It's not a government thing. It's not a government thing. It is difficult. Sometimes it would sound like we are even asking for too much. But the truth of the matter is, that's the only solution. If we can all agree that, okay, this is our Nigeria. Let's define it like he said. Let's find a point where all of us agree that this is our kind of Nigeria. And we're all in agreement that, okay, we are going to run our Nigeria like this. Then we have that identity. Then we can have all Nigeria like they have all American, and then the incentive would already be engraved in the society. If you're a veteran in the UK, in the US, for example, you've been to a war and you lose a leg or something, there's a way they treat those people differently. That you would actually want to go to war because if anything should happen or whatever should happen, you are not coming home like a destitute. You are coming home to be celebrated. But what is happening to our people, our soldiers and all? Is it the same? No. Are they enjoying this? So all these things are the things we need to look into. If we can get all that together, trust me, having an entrepreneurial nation would be easier. Having a nation where everybody feels like this is our brand would be easier. So I think for me, that's my submission on that.
Yeah. Oh, Nigeria. That is
Nigeria.
Yes. But that's a very interesting place, I think, to stop. If you want to contribute directly to our conversation, you can join the Entrepreneurial Thinkers Network. The link is going to be in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the notifications. Okay. So this is the Q&A section. We actually have one very interesting question from our audience in the Entrepreneurial Thinkers Network. Yeah, if you're curious about what the Entrepreneurial Thinkers Network is, it's an information sharing platform for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. We provide them with resources for people building their businesses or building their brands and their careers. So I'm just going to read out the question, and of course, any takers, right? Okay. So, what is the best way to achieve the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Nigeria? Should the government engage more with sustainable, growth-oriented and innovative private sector companies already in existence with resources, or should they redirect those resources to funding more startups?
Yeah, we first.
No, we have an amazing audience,
Okay. I'm glad you only picked just one out of, I don't know how many questions.
Yeah, we had a couple.
Okay, so for me, I think it's more than those two that you mentioned. It's three, I think. So first, the sort of engagement, yes, the government should have engagement with such sustainable development type of enterprises, but through partnerships. Government can't do everything, as I said, and as I said, the thinking or all the information and intelligence is not wholly with them. They have to engage what the private sector is doing also, so through partnerships and things like that. So it means that way there's no need for any transaction monetary. It's just mutual benefit of some sort that exists, but also it's good bragging rights for the private sector or enterprise, whatever, that works with government in such things. So yes, there should be partnerships. Number two, yes, indeed, they should invest in startups. However, they need to include those partnerships that they have, because if Tongston, for instance, is into education and the fund that the government wants to invest in an education entity, whatever, how many million it is or billion, they need Tongston's partnership also to make sure that they evaluate that enterprise or that startup for them to really get the best of it. So my point is that first partnership should not just be in terms of working relationship, but also in terms of even identifying the right startups to invest in. And number three, as I always said, and as we said today also, they also need to be in it for the long run. So the government needs to not just put money in the startups, but also be there with them for the first 5 years, 10 years, especially enabling them to really grow, and not just immediately after you invest in them, you come and start looking for your return or taxing them and things like that. You need to also enable them get permits and licenses for them to really do well. So three, for me, I think that's what they should do to enable that enterprising ecosystem that you talked about. So it's a good question from the audience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In fact, it's so good that I have to really get my mind together. I think one thing that we should learn to do is to stop this idea of cubicle. Yes, is either you do this or you do this or you do this. Now, as good as the question is, I don't think the government should limit themselves to 2 or even 3, like you've mentioned. We should be able to harness ideas, more things, more avenue, more angle to things. Then put all those things to use. Now you may say, oh, if they have too much, it may be this thing. You don't have to use all of it at once. You can shelf some and put those ones that are more viable to use. I guess that's why the person is asking, which one should they do first, or which one should be the most important. But as far as I'm concerned, in this our climate, none is far more important, because we need to put every hand on deck. The startup must be engaged. It's a must. The existing institutes must be fully engaged to their capacity. Because most of these private entities are underutilized by the government. That's just the fact. There are so many things that private institution can. For example, and I'll bring it home to Tongston, for example. I read an article that the educational department of this present association, they are looking into bringing entrepreneurial thinking into. But this is something that Tongston has been on for more than 4 years now. So why go to America or go to... This is an existing institution that could actually help the government achieve that entrepreneurial thinking goal. So if the government decides to work with Tongston on this, they are now going to help the private institute to move into a larger scale and then utilize their might. Because Tongston already have...
Yes, they already have all those infrastructure.
Exactly. So saying that should they use existing companies that are... Yes, they must. Yeah. It's not even... So entrepreneur, old existing one must be used. Startup must be created. Then the government should be ready to do, like I mentioned earlier on, further research and utilize those results. You see, the problem is not doing research in Nigeria. Go to Nigerian universities. You will see a lot of project topic theses, doctoral theses everywhere. But are they being put into active usage? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. So if the government is going to do all this and put all this together, trust me, we are good to go. And I like that person. I need to know the person that asked that question. I have a special...
good question.
If you're curious, like Mr. Ola, about the Entrepreneurial Thinkers Network, like I said, the link is in the description below. Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Olayiwola Ahmed, and thank you so much, Mr. Bello. It was really interesting conversation that we had around the quest for an entrepreneurial Nigerian government. You can follow the Tongston Company on all social media platforms, and you can also check out the Entrepreneurial Thinking podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, and on Google Podcast. If you're curious about the Entrepreneurial Thinkers Network, like I said, links are in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and also attend the Tongston Entrepreneurial Education Summit, which is going to happen on the 1st to the 3rd of September 2022. Thank you so much for listening. And on our next episode, after all this talk about an ideal Nigeria, I think it's only proper that we talk to someone that's actually in the government sector. So thank you so much. See you next time.